We're going to continue with the same document that we were using for the motion tween. That layer is locked, but I'd like to add a new layer. And this new layer, I'm going to go ahead and call Shape Tween. Yes, I know. Okay, so playhead's over frame 1. Okay, and I do want to point out that the timeline, because our first frame lasted 70 frames, it's automatically filling in that space to make this one last the same amount of time. It doesn't have to, okay? It can be more, it can be less. It's just kind of assuming things based on what's already there, okay? So with the shape tween, it's a little bit different than a motion tween. It literally can morph shapes into a different one. So I'm going to start off, and since we have 70 frames, I'm going to go ahead and get like three different shapes. What I want to do first, though, is I want to not that. I want to go to the View menu, and I want to turn on my ruler, and I'm going to drag down a guide, and then I'm going to drag over a guide. And I'm doing this just so that as I put items on this layer, that it's easy for me to get them in the same spot. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay. So I'm going to start with a square. And I don't care what color you choose, but each thing we do needs to be a different color. I am going to undo the object drawing mode so that we are drawing in merge drawing mode, because it does, since it's a shape tween, it does have to be a shape that we draw. It can't be an object. Now, if you accidentally draw an object, we can always Control B to break apart, but it's easier or less steps if you just get it from the beginning. So I am drawing right up here, and I'm going to hold down my Shift key so that I draw a perfect square. And that's in frame 1. And I'm just centering it right up there where that is. Okay. I'm then going to go to frame 10. And I'm going to right click, and I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. This time I'm going to use my text tool. Okay. And I'm going to get a different color, and I am going to draw first letter of my first name. Oops, it didn't give that color there, so I need to change the color here. And I want it to be a font that is kind of thick. It does not have to be the same font that I use, but it does need to be a thick font. And then, of course, we need to increase the size of it. I'll go ahead and make it 100. And I'm going to put it up kind of in the same spot here. I want it to be kind of centered on that line. And then I'm going to modify, break apart. When we do the text, we do have to break it apart. Then I'm going to go to frame 20. And I want you to notice right here that it does tell you what your current frame is, because sometimes when you have all of these frames, it's hard to tell exactly which one you're on. So use that. Another blank keyframe, and I'm going to do a different shape. This time I'll do an oval, and I'm going to pick a different color for this oval, circle I should say, and I'm going to draw it up there, and then I'm going to move it so that it's right there in the center, and yeah, it's close enough. It doesn't have to be exactly the same size, but close. Oops, that's too big. That's all right. I'm not going to worry about it. It's close enough. Then I'm going to go to 30. I'm going to insert a keyframe, blank keyframe rather, so that I can then put in my middle initial. And I'm going to choose another color again. I'll choose purple. And I'm going to move this down to there. Modify, break apart, 40. Insert keyframe. Oops, not keyframe, blank keyframe. And keyframe would work too, that you just have to then delete what's there. Okay. Then I'm going to do a Polystar, and I am going to change the color and make sure that it is a star. And you might have to play with this to get this star to set right, because it doesn't automatically put it out on the side, put the, I don't know what you call them, the sides out there, the points out there. Okay. And then I'm going to go to 50, and I'm going to insert a keyframe again, and not a keyframe. One more time, insert blank keyframe, and I'm going to do my last initial, and okay, and then modify, break apart. And then I'm going to do 60, insert keyframe, and sorry, insert blank keyframe. I'm doing that often, aren't I? Insert blank keyframe. I'm going to go ahead and do the oval primitive. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to make a little donut and get that kind of in the center there. And then my last frame, I'm going to actually repeat that. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this first keyframe and choose copy frame. And then I'm going to move my playhead to the last one, and I'm going to choose paste frame. All right, now what I want to do is I need to apply the shape tween. So we have several different keyframes we're doing. And I did check as I went to make sure all of them were shapes as opposed to drawing objects. If this doesn't work for you, then it's probably because you have a drawing object. But I'm going to right click. I click on my layer name so it selects all the frames there. Then I'm going to right click and choose. Oops, am I going to right click on the layer name? Oh, maybe sorry, I have to do it here. Select it. Now I'm going to right click, shape tween, create shape tweens towards the top. And now when you play it from the beginning, you can watch it morph into other letters. And because we ended with the same one as we started, it just is going to then wrap back around and repeat itself. Now, because this went only 10 frames each, it is moving kind of fast, which is fine. Okay. But that's why it does that. We could probably put in less keyframes another time and slow it down, and it would look better. So before we move on to the third video and the third part, let's go ahead and do a save. We can go to File, Save As, and remember to save into your PAAVTC, into your Animate, and this is going to be period, last name, timeline, Tweens. And it's the FLA file, which means that it's an editable file, but it also means that this particular document doesn't do anybody any good unless they have the software on their computer.